Very surprisingly, when we launched it in February 2020, in March, 2020, we entered the lockdown.
Good evening, everyone. Today, we are in another episode of In Candid Conversation with Founders, and we have with us Himungshu. He is co founder and CEO at Perceptions Branding. He's an engineer and has done MBA. Welcome to the show, Himungshu. We would like to
Thank you so
know a
much.
lot more about your educational background and how all the way from being an engineer you went into being a founder.
Thank you so much for the generous introduction. Yeah, I think the journey has quite been an adventure or surprising to me too. So I started, when the whole thing of engineering came to me, it was not something that, I had a very conscious kind of decision into it. I am from Assam and I really did good in my 10th. So the obvious reason for my parents were to either put me to engineering or to MBBS. And my brother is a doctor, so the other option for me was to be an engineer. And no one asked me if I wanted to be or not. But I always had a very interesting, interest in physics and maths. And maybe that is the reason why my parents thought that I have to go to the engineering sector. So I went to Kota. I was doing my IIT coaching and all. And Kota mein everything happened. Just the coaching part didn't happen, because I just enjoyed 3 years of my life in Kota. पढ़ाई नहीं हुआ उसके अलावा बाकी सब हुआ था. Uh, Anyways, I kind of so landed in in doing my BTech from this VIT Vellore, and I did my engineering from there. And while in the course of engineering and as I was getting some exposure, I kind of realized that maybe I'm not someone who wants to do a job. Who's someone who doesn't want to sit from 9 to 5. There is nothing wrong in sitting from 9 to 5. It's just that probably I found out that I want to build something and not just, get into something. And I kind of decided that my tangent of life has to be such. Uh, but so I went to this Bangalore and I wanted to launch my own startup also. I kind of tried. I had one of my friend with me, but then that failed miserably because that was the first thing. So I thought that probably I'm missing something. Probably I don't know how this works. So let me do my MBA. So because I did my math and there was a good percentile, so I got a scholarship from the VIT again, and I did my MBA from VIT. While doing my MBA in VIT, I came across a startup called Encol Press in Hyderabad.
Okay.
And I thought of coming and then looking at the startup scenario of Hyderabad because Bangalore was kind of saturated at that time. I'm talking about 2017. Bangalore was kind of saturated, and I thought of, Hyderabad is a very, very, this baby market right now, and it has a lot of potential. So I came to Hyderabad. Uh, in Hyderabad, when I came, I saw that there are a lot of opportunities into here. But then, you know, I have been an unofficial student of psychology from very long, from almost 10 years. Although I'm an engineer or MBA and all those things, but I have been also a student of psychology unofficially because I kind of always wanted to know or was always intrigued on how the human mind works. When psychology and MBA combined, I got into a new direction altogether, which is the consumer psychology or the neuromarketing side of it, which is like why people buy what they buy or how do people buy, so what they buy. That looked very fascinating to me. So when I came to Hyderabad, I met a few people. I met so Mr. Amitesh Sharma, who is the CEO of Encol Press, and with him we co-founded Perceptions. It is in 2020. So Perceptions, when we co-founded it, it is a branding agency. We thought of just putting the branding part into it, and very very surprisingly, when we launched it in February 2020, in March 2020, we entered the lockdown, and it was the first month of our business, and we had some important or very interesting connects, but everything got completely shut down for the next 1 year almost, and branding or marketing was not even a need for people at that time. Survival was the need. So my domain of getting into branding or marketing was completely stopped, and I should maybe I should also mention I came to Hyderabad after I got a very hefty amount of package in VIT after I passed my MBA. I was just seeing कि मेरा market value कितना एक बार इंटरव्यू में अपना बैठ के देखते हैं. So that was a good package that I got from one of the bank. But then because I always decided that I don't want to get into the job, that was just a trial for me. So probably some people would tell me that I have done that for my trial and maybe someone's I've like eaten someone's seat. I'm guilty of that. But I just wanted to check if what is the current thing that I'm getting into. And that made me quite motivated because I know the sacrifice that I have made. Right. I
Right.
have left and being from Assam, I'm from a family which is a middle class family. Uh, sacrificing a package which many people dream of probably in my place.
How much,
And then
if you could tell, how much was that?
that was something around 16 in the
Okay.
first
60.
yeah, I mean, yeah, 16.
Okay.
So, I mean, that was a
That
very,
was
for a
that was
fresher kind
huge.
of a thing, and that
Absolutely.
was huge
Still.
for me. Yeah, but I was never actually commercially motivated, to be honest.
Hmm.
For me, so building something or making an impact was my drive, and it is now, it will always be. Uh, Commercially driven goals are very short term, I believe. When you do something impactful, the byproduct is always money. It will eventually come to you, but that is a long-term game, right? So, yeah. So, cut to 2021. So January, all these almost 10, 11 months, we were very, very dormant. We didn't do anything much because we didn't get a lot of clients. We got some work, but it was not very much like attractive to us. So what I did is we had a small team at that time. We started with three people. We all got into studying a lot of different things or doing a lot of like projects by our own and getting to know about this subject or this field as much as we can. So हम लोगों ने बहुत courses किया. We did a lot of Coursera courses. There is not one single course in Coursera right now, as far as I know, that I have not done related to branding or marketing. So we have done everything because we had lots of time with us. And maybe because of that, the foundation was built very strongly.
Hmm.
Uh, so since then on, I'll just cut short to now. Now we have worked with almost more than 300 clients worldwide, like globally. We don't have a salesperson in the team even now. Out of these 300, probably the first 15 were something that I approached or we approached was like outbound.
Hmm.
Rest everything, every client since then, till now has been all word of mouth or referrals. And we have a team of 35 people right now. We have grown from there to here, and we have done work with almost a lot of like a lot of I mean, so startup or companies who have a tremendous potential of growth.
Hmm.
So we survived COVID. We survived and we kind of flew right through it very nicely. So that is one. I also have so another two. I'm also into some another startup. I mean, I've not updated into that thing into I mean it's LinkedIn here. One of them is into healthy meal subscription.
Okay.
So it goes by the name of this Food Healers. The name of the company is Food Healers, and we deliver healthy food at, to your doorstep. So if you subscribe it for monthly or a 2 weeks package, the USP is that we give very hyper customized meal. So we have clients who are probably of 75 years of age. They have a lot of diseases,
Hmm.
and their food needs to be very, very hyper customized. So we do that. We give all kinds of meal that is required, and that is one thing that I'm into it. And yeah,
I get it. So, you know, getting the first customer is always the toughest task. I mean, once you get two, three on board, then it is easier to get the remaining one through word of mouth and through your existing work. How did you get your first customer on?
see, the first customer is normally always, you get through your own network or connections,
Hmm.
who wants to, who knows you from long, who has a credibility. As I told you, my co-founder, Mr. Amitesh, he is from Hyderabad.
Okay.
So he had a lot of network and a lot of connections, at that time of, when we were starting. And The first client that I remember we got is through a pitch. It was not because we always believed in merit. It was,
Hmm.
although it was the whole point is that we got to do that pitch because of the connection, but the whole conversion was done because of a very, very formal pitch that we gave. So
Okay.
we kind of, got his requirements and what does he need, and we came back to the drawing board. We made plans, we made strategies for. I remember 3 days straight without sleeping or doing because we wanted to pitch him soon and then close it. And then we pitched him, and because we were very small, the pricing was also not very huge because
Hmm.
it was our first client, and so that was a supporting factor for because people know the normal current market rate in Hyderabad, and so I think that worked, and it was the same for the first almost 7 to 8 clients because first 7 to 8 clients you cannot actually say anything because the work is like because the work is like ongoing. It was just a period of 2 3 months where to get 7 to 8 clients. After that, once you get almost to work with 10 to 15 clients, there is a confidence that you build inside that matlab, we are doing good, we can do it. And then your pitch, the tone, the way you speak, everything changes eventually. So that
Correct.
happens.
Correct. I think so. The confidence only comes after you have people on board and you go ahead and you have some success shown, right? So,
Correct, 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 correct.
once you start a startup and I mean, the initial phases where you're doing literally everything, you have to go ahead and take care of your social media also and take care of your marketing also and sales also and be
Everything.
a finance accountant also. But once you have a team in place, you kind of have to turn into a new role, which is the leadership role. So, how
Correct,
did you go ahead and gain that aspect, and what has been your experience when you have to guide, as you mentioned, you have a team of 35 people. So, what is your
correct.
experience? How does your role change, and how do you ensure that they are satisfied in your organization?
Right. Very good question. I mean, I kind of, yeah, very good question because this is, I think, the most toughest part uh, in entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
I mean, so I mean, the sexy part of being a founder is that, there is no one out there to tell you what to do,
Hmm.
right? But the scary part of being a founder is that there is no one out there what to do, who will tell you what to do, right? You are all alone and you have to figure out things mainly by observing what other people do, right? So I always say that, success in entrepreneurship is not guaranteed, but maturity is. You obviously get matured a lot.
Right.
So uh, I will I will tell you something. So what I realized is, being a founder, you always have to be very, very, very optimistic externally. You have to show a lot of positivity. You have to show that you have got great vision and you have got, great plans on all those things that you are able to, you are able to drive the whole team with you and they will also get all the successes that they require. But internally, you have to self-doubt yourself a lot. You have to live in paranoia sometimes.
Hmm.
You have to think very closely as to मैं कहाँ गलत जा सकता हूँ या मैं कहाँ गलत जा रहा हूँ. If you're not feeling that self-doubt kind of thing internally, then probably you'll be shut down. Because what happens is once you fix yourself that you whatever you are doing is right or you are very rigid, you are not willing to change your roles every second day, you are probably going to get disrupted. So the role of a founder in a startup which I experience is you have to play a lot of roles at the same time at any given point in the same day, right?
Right.
I might get a call from an investor immediately, and I have to act differently. I might have to get, I mean, the second call have to be a client call where I'm a completely different person. The third call has to be a one-to-one call with my employee who I'm getting that one-to-one with to know his growth. All these three characters are different characters. So I learned that the one thing is that that founders need to be very, very flexible. And when you are flexible and you are able to see the amount of growth that you are growing as a founder, I think your team starts believing in you and they see the potential that you have because I am proud to say that the team that in perceptions that I'm working with has been there with me since 3 years now, since
Okay.
day one. I have almost zero attrition rate. The attrition only happens if the performance is low or something. Otherwise, the people that I'm working with have been with me since day one. They have seen all the ups, all the downs. They have believed in me. They have been there with me, and they are all people who I have never met before in my life. I have met them from 2020 onwards. तो ऐसा कोई भाई बहन भी नहीं है, मतलब नॉर्मल ऐसा लोग हैं, and they have been there. So I think they have seen me, grow from what I was in 2020 to what I became every other month, or the way I grew. So the best way to keep your team motivated, or your team, with you, is something, probably it starts with ourselves.
Hmm.
If we are the reason where the team sees that, I mean, if he can grow, then we can obviously grow. If we become a kind of, an inspiration, then I think you don't need to do much after that.
Right. Yes. So, you know, when it comes to a founder, the journey has,
Yeah,
as you mentioned, a lot of ups and downs, right?
yeah,
And during those low points, sometimes uh, you may feel that this is too much to take. So has it ever happened with you that you thought of just leaving the startup, or maybe going back to the corporate job, or maybe doing, and as you mentioned, you already saw a failed startup. So what makes you going that you want to be there and you want to continue working for the startup during those low times?
right. You have to be cocky sometimes.
Okay.
Cocky is a negative word where you are being overconfident. But sometimes what happens, your class of confidence, the normal confidence that you have, uh, will not suffice for those low points.
Hmm.
So at those points, it so happens that you feel, I mean, that you might also feel that probably there is no one out there who is believing in you, और people around you are not understanding आप ये क्यों कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि आपके पास ऑलरेडी एक अच्छा खासा अपॉर्चुनिटी, आप दूसरे अपॉर्चुनिटी पे जा सकते हैं, but you don't know why you are doing that. I
Hmm.
think the most strongest point is you should know. See, I mean, entrepreneurship and startup these days have become a very cool word. Like everyone wants to be entrepreneur these
True.
days. Everyone wants to have a startup of their own these days. It is not that easy. There is a difference between a business or a startup. There is a difference between how you move your team, with you, how you build, something. I mean, from the scratch, where people believe in you, believe in your team, believe in the company. There's a lot of cultural things that you have to develop, which are all intangible. I mean, even if you ask me, how did you build the culture of your company? I might not be able to tell you, because these are very intangible things, right? So what happens is, a lot of things are not seen from the outside. 90% of the things that founders do are not seen from the outside.
Hmm.
And those are things that only you know how you can navigate, or how you can work out with. So I think a very, very strong sense of drive as to why are you going to become an entrepreneur? Why do you want to, go through all this toughness, probably has to have a very strong drive. For me, that drive is to make an impact, as I said, to build something from my own hands by myself, looking at a baby, and as you feel that बड़ा हो गया है, now it is being something that people are trusting and all. So उसका जो एक मजा है, I mean, I cannot tell you, how do you feel when you stand in the Marine Drive of Mumbai, right? You have to go there and experience it. Is that kind. So once you have that clarity in your mind as to how do you feel, I mean, money and all are there, but money and all are secondary. You can also earn, more than that money, probably, if you work in a very high-fi paying job. But the whole challenge, the problem-solving attitude, I mean, founders, you know, they need to instinctively have the attitude of, like, so like solving problems. The only thing that we get in a day is a lot of problems, and the especially that any founder, any successful founder will carry, is to solve those problems.
Hmm.
So अगर किसी को मजा आता है वो problem solve करने में, then that is something you will not get anywhere else in any other kind of jobs probably in the world,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So that drive has to be very, very strong. You should know why you are doing that. I think that will carry you through those low points.
Got it. So, usually what happens is when we meditate, there is this point where your mind becomes blank. I mean, that's the purpose of meditating. You have achieved that satiation. What, according to you, would be that satiation in your business? When do you think you will achieve that bliss point, or when do you think you can call that, now my business is actually successful, my startup is successful, I've attained it to the topmost position?
Okay, so you see, there is this thing of have you seen any king before who have told that, I have got these three, I have, acquired these three palaces or three places. Now I don't want anything else. I am
Hmm.
blissful. I don't want anything else.
Okay.
It doesn't happen like that, right? I mean, this जो कीड़ा रहता है, जो वो चीज रहता है ना, you cannot ever. I mean, the whole point is that a founder or an entrepreneur will not be able to just, sit and do nothing, looking at his company being like kind of automated. So there is a difference between a business and a startup, I believe. A normal businessman would probably want to, uh, work for the first 10 years of their life and make their business automated and then kuch bhi nahi karna hai. So they see their business growing, it is coming, the money is flowing automatically. Founders generally build one thing, then probably sell it or make it automated, then come to the second thing. Like I told you, I have the second company now, which I'm
Right.
building, right?
Right.
Because the first one is automated. And probably I think the chain will continue. You look any big, guy, either they make the first company itself so big that there are a lot of things that they have to do. I
Hmm.
mean, obviously there is a point of bliss. I mean, there are different small points of bliss, I mean, I remember the first point where my company turned, I mean, it's profitable. The first day when my CA told me that, why we are profitable, we are green, felt good. But, then the next point is, ki, okay, now it is profitable. Now how to make this much of revenue? Then
Hmm.
you got that much of revenue. Then the second point comes, okay, now how to double it? So I don't think there is any there is a very never-ending pattern as to you keep on going. Your one company settles, you open up the second. There is some kind of other direction that you can go to. You go to that, or you open up your third company or something like that. But the bliss you feel is when you see your company. For me, it might vary from different person to person. For me, it's when I see that my company is getting automated and it is running without much of my interference.
Exactly.
That means that you have done things maybe correctly or hired people correctly. That things are going automated.
Got it. Got it. So one last thing that I would like to understand. So as you mentioned
Yes.
that you have gone ahead and gone into this new startup, right? Now these two things seem very different. One is into the food industry and one is into the branding industry. What made you go into this newer sector? And because these are two very different things, first of all. And
Yeah.
secondly,
Yeah.
how would you ensure that you're able to use whatever information and whatever knowledge you have gained from the earlier startup to kind of go ahead and use it in your new startup?
Right. Nice questions. You do have to think for some time for these questions, right? I mean, I
Yeah, yeah.
mean, the questions are good. See, the plus point of having a branding or digital marketing, performance marketing agency is that you have the opportunity to work with a lot of clientele from a lot of different sectors.
Hmm.
We have clients who are from the hotel industry. We have clients who are cement manufacturers. We have clients who are mattress manufacturers. We have clients who are juice manufacturers. We have clients who are from the aviation industry. So what happens is in a particular branding agency, we have clientele from almost all the different sectors. Now, most dominantly, the 40% of clientele that we have is from the FMCG sector or from the food sector. Now, God has blessed me with this kind of a thing that today I can only select to work with those industries that I personally like, right? So food has been something which obviously I'm a big foodie, so I like food, and I also had experiences of working with different clients of restaurant industry or cloud kitchens or food industry in perceptions. So one factor why I'm into the food is because yeah, it is a new industry for me. I don't know maybe 90% of the things, but I know the basics of how it works because I have been working with all these clients for a while now.
Hmm.
And see, I mean, as I told you, there is also this thing कि अगर मैं same industry में जाऊँ, then what is the challenge? I mean, you only get to know a lot of things, a lot of, now that we have a kitchen, we have our own kitchen where we, cook food, and we have our own chefs and nutritionists. There's a lot of things that I'm getting to know recently, which are very, very new to me. So I think that to run business, the skeleton for any business is the same, right? If you know how to run business, you can run almost any kind of business. But the context or the content in it, I have people who know much more than me in this particular field. So अभी तो मैं उनसे सीख रहा हूँ कैसे करना है. Then probably I'll go to some other industry which is completely different from this too.
Got it. Okay. Any chance, I mean, any thoughts you have on going to, Shark Tank to get funding for your new business?
No, Shark Tank is not for funding. If you need funding, you need to. Shark Tank is more of a PR activity.
Okay.
See, Shark Tank, you get a lot of exposure. Obviously, one fine day, if we have a kind of a brand which needs a lot of B2C exposure, then obviously Shark Tank is the thing. But otherwise, I believe in very attention focused like investors who are not just people who gives money, but helps you, in driving the whole business forward like it is their own. And for that, they need to have some attention. So we have investors in some of the companies that I'm associated with, but these are all very focused investors and focused people who are not into 100 things. And I mean, मैं कभी जा भी सकता तो मैं आगे उतना नहीं बोलूंगा वैसा, but then yeah, Shark Tank is, I feel, is more of a PR kind of an activity which is required for certain brands. As you have seen in the last, many episodes of Shark Tank, a lot of D2C brands have spiked up
Exactly.
their value, their sales like anything. If they would have not got into Shark Tank, then probably they would have not been able to go that high.
Correct.
But not in the case of, not in the case of like, so raising funds. If your motive is to raise funds, then there are better revenues, I believe. But if your motive is to raise funds from those people at the Shark Tank, then it is a different case. Or if your motive is just to get a lot of exposure, then I think Shark Tank is a good platform.
Place to go. Got it. Himungshu, I think so it was a wonderful session. It was so insightful. It was great having you on the show. And, I hope that in future, if I need to go ahead and get some branding activities done, or, if you come ever to Delhi NCR, you expand your food business in Delhi NCR, maybe I am the one person who's
Absolutely.
ordering from that place.
Drop me your number, we'll connect. Absolutely. There is a lot of opportunities.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Himungshu.
Thank you.
although
Thank
you
you, Ardi. It was
say-
really good. No, I should also tell you that your questions really made me, I think I talked a lot and you asked a few questions, but your questions were such that, it was really made me think on a few things.
Right. Thank you. And although you say that founders have to work on weekend, I still wish you a happy extended weekend and may you get some time to rest.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.